Walk into almost any grocery store in America and look at the meat aisle. Angus, grass-fed, organic, prime, choice, store brand. Different labels, different prices, different packaging. It looks like a competitive market, but the structure behind those packages is far simpler than it appears. Four companies control 85% of all American beef. Four companies decide how much the rancher earns and how much you pay. And those four companies did not stumble into power. They engineered it. The Big Four. To understand how they captured the entire industry, we have to go back to a number. In 1977, the four largest meat packers controlled 25% of the beef market. By 1992, that number had jumped to 71%. Today, it sits at 85%. That is not the result of market forces. That is the result of 4 decades of deliberate consolidation, acquisitions, mergers, and a legal framework that looked the other way. Tyson Foods, based in Arkansas, processes approximately 20% of all beef, pork, and chicken in the United States. Cargill, privately held, based in Minnesota, the largest private company in America, by revenue bigger than Microsoft. National Beef, owned by the Brazilian conglomerate Marfrig, controls roughly 12% of the U.S. beef market. And then there is JBS. JBS is Brazilian. Between 2007 and 2009, in just 2 years, JBS bought Swift & Company for $1.5 billion, acquired Smithfield's beef operations, and swallowed Pilgrim's Pride, the largest poultry processor in America. A Brazilian company, with no U.S. beef presence in 2006, had become the largest meat packer on Earth by 2009. The U.S. government did not block a single one of those acquisitions. The rancher trap. In 1980, the American cattle rancher received 63 cents of every dollar you spent on beef. The packers and retailers split the remaining 37 cents. Today, those numbers have flipped. The rancher gets 37 cents. The packers take the rest. And here is where the system becomes interesting. There was a time when a rancher raised cattle, drove them to an auction house, and took the best price from competing buyers. That system is gone. Today, most cattle are sold through what the industry calls captive supply. Forward contracts, formula agreements, marketing arrangements. The packer owns the cattle before they ever leave the feedlot. And when you control the cattle before slaughter, you control the price before the rancher has any say. In some regions, only 5 to 10% of cattle are still sold on the open cash market. Think about what that means. 4 companies compete to buy cattle from ranchers, but the cattle already belong to those same 4 companies. That is not a market. That is a procurement system dressed as one. The vertical machine. Beef is only one front. In pork, the same 4 names, Tyson, JBS, Cargill, and Smithfield, control 60 to 70% of the market. In poultry, JBS alone, through Pilgrim's Pride, processes one of every 5 chickens consumed in America, and poultry was the blueprint. Starting in the 1960s, poultry companies vertically integrated the entire supply chain. They own the chicks. They own the feed. They own the processing plants. They own the trucks. The farmer does not own the birds. The farmer owns the building and the debt that comes with it. It is called the tournament system. Poultry growers are ranked against each other. The top performers get more birds and more pay. The bottom performers get less. But here is the catch, and it is brutal in its design. The company controls the feed, the chicks, and the veterinary protocols. The company decides who wins. The farmer just carries the mortgage. Subscribe for more documentaries on hidden systems. The Consolidation. In August 2019, a fire ripped through the Tyson beef plant in Holcomb, Kansas. At the time, that single facility processed roughly 6% of all beef in the United States. The plant shut down. Within weeks, the price of boxed beef, the wholesale product packers sell to retailers, surged. The price ranchers received for live cattle did not. The spread, the gap between what you pay and what the rancher earns, widened to historic levels. Then COVID hit. By April 2020, nearly 40% of America's beef processing capacity was offline. Plants became COVID hotspots. Workers, shoulder to shoulder on the kill floor, got sick. Thousands of cases. OSHA complaints that went nowhere. And here's where the system revealed itself. Beef prices at the grocery store surged, in some cases by 150%. The packers recorded record margins. The ranchers lost money per head. Think about that. The supply chain broke. The companies that controlled that supply chain made more money than ever. The people who raised the cattle could not afford to stay in business. The mechanics of control. How do you build a monopoly that does not look like a monopoly? You build it slowly. The Big Four used 3 tools, and none of them involved a secret meeting in a smoke-filled room. Tool 1, acquisition. Buy your competitors before anyone notices. The USDA and DOJ reviewed each deal. Most were approved. Tool 2, captive supply. Don't buy cattle at auction. Own them through contracts. When the cash market shrinks to 5%, the cash price becomes meaningless, and the cash price is the benchmark all contracts reference. Tool 3, regulatory capture. The Packers and Stockyards Act of 1921 was designed to prevent exactly this kind of concentration. It gave the USDA broad authority to break up monopolistic practices. The USDA has not used that authority in decades. The DOJ notices. In November 2025, the Department of Justice announced an antitrust investigation into the Big Four meat packers. 3 million documents reviewed, hundreds of interviews across the cattle and beef supply chain. The acting attorney general said the quiet part out loud. The industry is dominated by 4 processors. That concentration has reduced options for ranchers. It has weakened their negotiating power. It has made the entire food system more vulnerable to disruption. The investigation is ongoing. Whether it changes anything is a different question. In March 2026, the administration gutted the DOJ's antitrust division staff. The team tasked with investigating the meat monopoly had fewer people to do the work, but here is where the system becomes harder to ignore. The system. The argument for consolidation has always been efficiency. 4 companies processing 85% of beef is, in theory, cheaper per pound than 40 companies processing 15% each. But efficiency has a twin: fragility. When a single fire can disrupt 6% of the national supply, the system is fragile. When a virus can take 40% of capacity offline, the system is fragile. When a cyber attack on JBS in 2021 shut down slaughterhouses across 3 countries, the system is fragile. What would change if your state banned corporate-owned farms? Drop your answer below. And when 4 companies in a single boardroom can decide that the rancher gets less and the consumer pays more, the system is not a market. It is a machine. The architecture of your grocery bill. Walk into almost any grocery store. Look at the meat aisle. Different labels, different prices, different packaging, but the structure behind every single one of those packages is the same. 4 companies that did not earn their power in a competitive market. They bought it, they engineered it, and they count on you never noticing. If you want to understand the systems that decide what you pay and who profits, like and subscribe for more documentaries like this.